My feeling reading the stories about them coming back was that it was really all to do with giving the children an English education, to send them to English schools and get them into the system. I'm not an expert on American schools, but I would imagine that English schools are generally safer. I think we've talked about that before. And so that's what I think is the real reason for them coming back. But of course, there are all sorts of subtexts, and these involve things like, Prince Harry getting on better with his father. I think it's very important on a private level that they should try to reconcile for two reasons. One, because the king is ailing in health, as we know. He has stated that he didn't want his last years to be made miserable by family feuds, and so it would be nice for him if he could, see a bit more of his son. And equally for Prince Harry, if the king should happen to die when they were not, as it were, on speaking terms, he would carry around even more emotional baggage than he does at the moment. Beyond that, I don't see any advantage or any thought that they would in any way take part in any working royal occasions, as it were, because that would be counterproductive, because unfortunately, as we're going to see, as we've seen in the last couple of days, anything that they do is always seen to be in conflict with the British working royal family, and that's very bad. Then, of course, there's her so-called acting career. Well, you may well ask me, what do I think about that? And again, I've said this many times in the past, that she's always reinventing herself, and she's done that consistently over the last few years. And if going into a Guy Ritchie series is another way of inventing herself, well, that's what she'll do. And if you ask me, is this appropriate? It doesn't really matter, because she can do whatever she likes. She's not a working member of the royal family. I see a history of lots of projects which start up and don't seem to really go anywhere. This may well prove to be another one. If you are an actor and you agree to go into a series, you pretty much have to go along with what they want to do. But knowing her ways, I'm sure she will stipulate all sorts of things, and I think she is capable of putting all sorts of boundaries up and being quite difficult, in which case, of course, it could well be that the whole thing will come to nothing. On the other hand, supposing she decides to go ahead, I mean, actors are meant to do what they're told to, frankly, in these series, and if it demands somewhat more, I don't know how to put it, quite more sort of inappropriate, perhaps that's the right word, appearance by her, then I guess that will possibly happen. But I don't think it. I don't think it will. I think she'll be, putting all sorts of clauses and boundaries in, because that's the way she operates, which may or may not appeal. They may feel, well, it's worth having her in the series in a limited sense in order to get the publicity, and maybe she'll be very good in it. Who knows? Maybe she'll be better at acting than making jam. I mean, she was very good in Suits. I did watch Suits, and as you said, it's a different sort of show, but she was perfectly nice to watch in that, actually. I suspect that that there won't be sort of raunchy scenes and things, but I could be wrong. I think it's very unlikely, because I think that she will consider that her mere presence in the series will justify the fee that she will be being paid, and that people will watch it to see what she looks like in it, and therefore there's no need to go too far. I think that's probably what will happen. I could argue that a so-called for a member of the royal family to start going into a series like that is inappropriate, but the way I look at it is that a lot of the things she's done already have been inappropriate, and they are loose cannons. They are not working members of the royal family. They are obviously using their titles to get into these things, all the different things that they do, and that's how they make their money. But I think she has to make up her mind whether she thinks an acting career is going to stretch out in front of her. I mean, I don't know. I can't state with any certainty whether she is a good enough actress to make a huge success as an actress. everything that she does depends very much on the fact that she's married to Prince Harry. That's why we talk about her. She wanted global recognition, and she got it by marrying Prince Harry, not by being an actress. I can well see how, if you were putting on a series or whatever, you would put her in it in order to get publicity. And if she happened to be good in it, well, so much the better. I mean, she's perfectly capable and competent, but I do think it's a very complicated balance to play. And most actors and actresses are working extremely hard, training, and are in front of the public in many different ways, always in their craft, using their talents and using their profession. And so she's hasn't done it for a long time. She's done various different things, and it'd just be interesting to see what happens when she suddenly appears in this series, if indeed she does. I suppose she will. So I think it's another reinvention. She's forever coming up with new ideas to astonish the media, and she's very successful in doing that. Whether it leads anywhere is up in the air, but maybe it will. Who knows? But I'm afraid that the main reason why people would want her in a series is because of her global status. I would imagine that Buckingham Palace would be extremely cautious in how they responded to this. I imagine, I don't know, but I imagine that virtually everything that Harry and Meghan do is something of a headache to Buckingham Palace. I imagine she'll do exactly what she wants, regardless of what Prince Harry thinks. But on the point of him returning to England, I think he's always looked like a fish out of water out in California. I mean, the thing is that California has certain merits, but it's all very much dollar-based. It's all sort of what they call chasing the dollar, and if you're not in the mainstream of all that, it's pretty boring. It's like another beautiful day and nothing to do. And I think he's always looked miserable out there. So, I'm sure he's been brought up in this country. He knows it through and through. He must have missed it hugely. So I imagine from his point of view to come home, spend time in this country is something he would welcome very much. I'm not sure how much he'd welcome his wife taking part in dodgy scenes in TV or series or films or whatever, but she'll do whatever she wants, I guess.